They won't teach you this in school. You won't find it in any law book. And no leader will admit it on stage. But in the world of power, there are mistakes that don't explode. They don't scream. They simply happen. Silently. Slowly. And the only fuel they need is your tolerance. You let a small betrayal slide. You explain away a clear violation. You forgive not because you're strong, but because you fear the confrontation. And in that moment, you're not avoiding conflict. You're planting the seed of your own downfall. This isn't a message for people who want to be liked. This is a warning for those who carry responsibility, who lead, who build, and who can't afford to lose everything they've earned. Because power doesn't collapse in an explosion. It erodes in silence. Not from outsiders, but from those who smile in your face and rot your kingdom from within. Today, we reveal the 7 silent behaviors that Machiavelli himself warned us never to tolerate. The 7 invisible poisons that weaken leaders, destroy loyalty, and end empires from the inside. If you've ever felt the sting of betrayal, if you've ever been punished for showing mercy, if you're building something and you refuse to be naive anymore, then don't just watch this video. Study it, because sometimes your survival doesn't depend on how strong you are, but on how clearly you see what must never be forgiven. Let's begin. Loyalty is not proven by time. It's revealed by chaos. Anyone can stand beside you when you win, when the money flows, when the spotlight's warm. But when failure hits, when your name is dragged through the dirt, when you're bleeding, that's when you see the truth. The ones who once called you brother vanish. No calls, no messages, just silence. And silence in crisis is betrayal with a clean face. Worse, they come back when you rise again, with apologies, with soft eyes, and reasons that sound rehearsed. I was going through something. I didn't want to be a burden. No, they made a choice. They chose distance over loyalty. And if you forgive them not from strength, but out of nostalgia or fear of being alone, you send one deadly message: betrayal has no consequences. From that point on, loyalty becomes performance, calculated, convenient. People stay close, not because they believe in you, but because you're still useful, still powerful. And the moment that changes, they'll disappear again. Machiavelli understood. You don't need an army during the storm. You need one man who doesn't flinch. One man who stands firm when the wind turns. Because betrayal isn't just personal. It's political. If others see that you can be abandoned, they stop fearing you. And once fear disappears, so does respect. So burn this into your mind. Anyone who disappeared when you were weak doesn't deserve a seat when you're strong. No second chances. No explanations. No soft landings. Because every traitor you forgive teaches the rest that loyalty is optional. And empires never fall from outside attacks. They rot from within. Power doesn't die from outside attacks. It dies. The moment the man at the top hesitates, you think the enemy will destroy your empire. Think again. The fastest way to collapse it is to crown a coward. But cowardice doesn't always scream. It whispers. It wears suits. And it calls itself caution, balance, leadership. You'll see it in the delays, the meetings, the fear of making the hard call. And all the while, the enemy moves. Machiavelli warned us. When the leader is afraid of his own power, everyone beneath him catches the infection. People look up during a crisis, and when they see hesitation, they see weakness. And weakness isn't neutral. It's a vacuum. It invites rebellion. It makes room for someone bolder. Someone decisive. A true leader doesn't wait for consensus. He acts in the fog, moves when others freeze. Not because he's fearless, but because he understands a trembling voice, loses empires faster than a wrong decision. Cowards don't lead. They delay. They deflect. And when the house burns, they'd rather look thoughtful than responsible. Machiavelli said it plainly. Power is not kept by being moral. It's kept by being clear, by deciding, by standing alone, if you must, because the people will forgive mistakes, but they will never follow a man who looked uncertain when strength was needed most. Not every enemy opposes you. Some smile, some agree, some call you brilliant, even when you're wrong. And that's exactly who Machiavelli warned us about. Because flattery is not loyalty. It's strategy. It's manipulation. It's poison that tastes like wine. The flatterer never disagrees. They echo your opinions. They nod before you finish your sentence. And they praise you. Not because they admire you, but because they need you. And here's the danger. Enemies sharpen your instincts. But flatterers put them to sleep. You think you're being respected, but you're being seduced, softened, disarmed by comfort. And before you realize it, you're no longer leading. You're performing. For applause, for approval, for people who will leave the second your power fades. Machiavelli put it bluntly. The flatterer is more dangerous than the traitor because he blinds you in plain sight. So test them. Say no, push back. Watch what happens. If the smile fades, if the loyalty trembles, you've just exposed the truth. It was never loyalty, only opportunity in disguise. Because the man addicted to praise is already too weak to rule. Power isn't steel. It's not locked in vaults or guarded by armies. It lives in perception, in the belief that you are untouchable. And once that belief cracks, everything else follows. Not through war, but through one man who laughs during your speech, who mocks your command, who questions your authority in public. That moment, it's not just disrespect. It's a signal to everyone watching, because when you tolerate open defiance, you create precedent. And precedent is a virus. Every ambitious man nearby now whispers, if he got away with it, so can I. Machiavelli knew power doesn't fade from battle. It dies when you let rebellion wear a smile, when you try to appear mature, when you stay silent, thinking silence equals strength. It doesn't. They don't need to beat you. They just need the crowd to stop fearing you. So here's the rule. You don't need to destroy every critic. But when someone challenges you publicly, you respond publicly. Not with rage, with presence, with clarity, with a reminder. This is not a conversation. This is a throne. Because the people aren't listening to the words. They're watching your reaction. And every time you flinch, explain, or laugh it off, you surrender something that can never be reclaimed. Control. Your worst enemy is rarely the one who fought you. It's the one you once saved. The man you defended when no one else would. The one you gave a second chance. A seat at your table. A voice in your circle. And then he disappeared when you needed him. Silent. Absent. Grateful only when it served him. Machiavelli warned, ingratitude is not forgetfulness. It's betrayal polished in manners. It says, what you gave meant nothing. They don't feel guilt. They feel entitled. They see your mercy not as strength, but as weakness to exploit. And when your power slips, They're the first to step over you, whisper your flaws, leverage your kindness like it was a transaction. But here's the truth: mercy is not forgiveness. Mercy is a test. And when someone fails that test, you don't offer it twice. Because every time you tolerate ingratitude, you corrupt your entire system. Your loyal men start to ask, why stay loyal if traitors are always welcome back? That's how rot begins. Not through war, but through unpunished disrespect. So don't ask for apologies. Don't wait for closure. Remember who vanished, and never invite them in again. Ambition is powerful. It builds empires. It drives men to greatness. But without loyalty, ambition doesn't build. It burns. Machiavelli admired ambition, but only when it had roots. Code, allegiance, honor. Without that, it becomes a weapon, polished, silent, dangerous. You've seen this man. Always helpful, always diplomatic, smiling with everyone, but never truly standing with anyone. He never disagrees, never defends you when it matters. He's always available, but never committed. And what he's really doing is watching, studying, waiting for you to fall, so he can step forward as the solution, as the one who saw it coming, as the replacement. He's not here to support power. He's here to inherit it. And the most dangerous part, he plays the long game. No noisy, no rebellion, just presence, until the moment is right. Machiavelli was clear. Talent without loyalty is a ticking bomb. You have two choices. Either bind him to your mission or remove him before he grows powerful enough to destroy it. Because when the day comes, he won't ask for permission. He'll take it, as if it was always his. Not all attacks are loud. Not all enemies carry swords. Some come with soft words, tearful eyes. And one of the most dangerous weapons in modern power, morality, Machiavelli saw it centuries ago. That in a civilized world, you don't need armies to overthrow a leader. You just need to seem more virtuous. These people won't say, I want your power. They'll say, isn't there someone more honest? Don't we deserve someone kinder? They hide ambition beneath compassion. They don't challenge policy, they question your character. And now, you're not a ruler, you're a defendant. On trial in the court of emotional opinion, and in that court, you're guilty until proven perfect. If you respond, you're defensive. If you stay silent, you must be guilty. Either way, you bleed. Not blood, but respect. Machiavelli warned, once morality becomes performance, truth no longer matters. Only volume does. He knew real advisors speak in private, but manipulators, they need an audience. They want followers, not solutions. And if you tolerate them even, once you create a new standard, emotion trumps authority. And when that happens, your throne becomes a stage. And you, just another character in their play. So don't debate them. Don't explain. End the performance. Because power isn't surrendered just because someone cries loud enough. You've just seen the 7 behaviors that Machiavelli warned us never to tolerate. Not because they shout, but because they rot, quietly, from within. Betrayal during crisis. Cowardice in leadership. Flattery disguised as loyalty. Public defiance, without consequence. Ingratitude after mercy. Ambition without allegiance. And false morality used to stage rebellion. These aren't mistakes. They're warnings. They're symptoms of decay. Machiavelli didn't write for the comfortable. He wrote for kings, for warriors, for anyone trying to build something that lasts in a world that rewards weakness and punishes clarity. His message is brutal. But necessary power doesn't die by attack. It dies by what you choose to tolerate. Every time you forgive betrayal, you teach others it's safe. Every time you explain away disrespect, you give permission for more. And everyone is watching. Because in power, silence is never neutral. It's a message, a precedent, a signal that says, this is allowed. So here's the rule: if you want to keep your power, you draw the line. Who stays? Who leaves? What is punished? And what is never forgiven, no matter how sweetly it returns? Empires don't fall in battle. They rot from hesitation. And rot always begins with a leader who flinched. If this message cut deep, it was meant to, because power, real power, begins not with kindness but with clarity. So if you're building something, if you've endured betrayal, if you've been too silent for too long, comment below what you've seen, what you now refuse to tolerate. And most of all, subscribe, because this isn't where the lesson ends. It's where it begins. There are still masks to tear off, games to expose, and power to reclaim. In a world that fears the truth, be the man who never blinks.